So
right.
Welcome back, everyone. This is another episode of the Framing Podcast, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host today for this show, the Dr. Vibe that everybody knows. Thank you for joining us today. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Vibe is a prolific podcaster and also the winner of the Black Web Awards back in 2012. He won a Black Web Award for his podcast and his website, and has done over 1,000 episodes of podcast posts and different things. So he knows so much about this, and we're happy to have him on here today and share a bunch of knowledge. This is the whole point of this thing today, is to really share knowledge. So take it away, Dr. Vibe. Thank you for being here.
Well, hey, the pleasure's mine, and I'm humbled to finally be a guest on the Framing show. But since some of my listeners had some contributions to it, I thought it'd be good to have them on. But yeah, it's an honor and a pleasure, and most importantly, blessings to you and your family. That's most important. More than any of this stuff, family is most important.
Thank you. So let's jump into this today, man. This is the whole focus of this is really designed for the Black content creators group that got created on Facebook. It's about 35 people in there. And we really wanted to create a space where, Dr. Vibe and I were talking on one of these blabs a few nights back, and like, we should create a space where everybody can share information and learn from each other, because one person might know how to get booked as a speaker, and another person knows a lot about SEO. Somebody else knows about how to build a website. So it's let's actually get together and help each other and learn from that. So that was the sort of brain. Sure. I don't want to say, what's up, Shirley? Welcome.
Hey, Shirley's here.
Thanks.
Hey, look at this. Resume Workshop wants to join.
Yeah, so
come on
anybody
in.
Jump on in Shirley, at any point. Let's start pulling up each other's websites. Let's ask questions. Let's help each other, because that's the whole point of this. Like, what are you dealing with right now when it comes to your website or creating content? And let's have at it, man, because like we all have experience.
Sure.
So
and I think one of the things too that Ricardo and I also talked about, the goal is not to have this as a one and done. We want to have this as a continuous conversation. And Ricardo is blessed, and I am blessed that we not only have great people, not only in this country, but especially through Bob, there are so many wonderful people from outside of the Canadian borders that are willing to contribute. I know that, I'm sure over the last week or two, I know Ricardo has got some incredible information from people like a Dante from down in the US. And there's also Ryan, who's on the line here, who's like an SEO fiend, especially when it comes to YouTube. Like earlier on this week, Ryan was doing a blab, and Ricardo was there. And Ricardo was focused. He was just like getting nugget after nugget after nugget of things. So it's just really important for us to share and grow together. So, and even up to this week, I told Ricardo about Facebook Live, some of the upgrades they're going to have later on in the year.
That was a brilliant article.
Yeah.
All right, grab that headset. Come on back. Sure.
So, grab that headset and let's make it happen. And I'm certainly will have people from outside of the borders coming in who are going to probably willing to contribute their nuggets, because remember, the web is a global thing. It's not a Canadian thing. It's not in your house thing. It's a global thing, right? For those who don't realize that yet.
What is this interweb thing? How is this? How do I plug it in? So I'd like you to jump in and tell us a bit about who you are. Tell us about your blog, the content you create, and what's going on. Introduce yourself.
Oh, and here's another person here, Tashi from the US, who is a great thought. When it comes to media, she just probably finished her Mediascope show, and I definitely you guys need to check that out.
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
We are awesome.
Blessed.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, man. Blessed and highly favored, a magnet for miracles. Yeah, finally get to see this lady who created this wonderful platform on Facebook.
It was about time. So I was tired of researching and finding a group like this, and I was like, you know what? I'll just make one.
Just make it. Make it. There you go. So that would be a good place to start. Tell us about a bit more about that story, how it got started, and why you even created this? I mean, obviously it didn't exist.
It's so much combination. Well, I've been podcasting for the past 5 years with my hubby. We have this show called Chonilla, and it's basically a comedy personal journal about our lives as an interracial couple. And when we started the podcast, I was very strategic. You know, I was really into podcasting. I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and I knew that coming out being Canadian would minimize the amount of listenership, let's say. So I put a lot of strategy to make sure that it was kind of ambiguous. You didn't know where we're coming from in order to have as many listeners as possible, which it worked. I've had many people who later on, like the majority of our listeners were American, and a lot of them would say, you know, if I knew you guys were Canadian, I wouldn't listen to you, which was like, okay. I don't know. They have like this idea that Canadians are not entertaining or boring or something. So
we'll fix that up.
Yeah. So through doing the podcast, and then I started with the podcasting, learning a lot about social media, and I was finding myself like, you know, maybe I could do what I've been doing with the podcast and start a business in social media. And so transitioning into starting a digital marketing business per se, I was starting to be involved in groups, but particularly in podcasting, I was invited a lot. Well, we both were. Our show was invited a lot in different podcasting groups. And because the majority of our listeners are Black Americans, we would be invited in these Black bloggers and Black podcasting groups and things like that. And
because the US is very big on like helping each other. Like you get down to the US and it's like, yo, let's get together, let's do this. There's the Black blogging conference in the US, Blogging While Brown, which is happening in the next, either this month or next month in Washington D.C. this year. Hundreds of people showing up. So it's we need a bit of that. We needed some of that type of juice up here, man.
Yeah, I mean, through the podcast, I've met a few Canadian content creators. You know, I had like Joanne Brighton, who's an amazing social media gal in Toronto. I've met Cher Jones. Her and her cousin has a Lori and Cher show on YouTube and stuff like that. So I met really cool Canadians, but not enough. And I'm like, where are they? You know, as much as I appreciate and love our Black American cousins, it's just nice to kind of connect with people locally at home, because in the 5-year span of doing our show, in the past 2 years, both Clove and I decided, okay, now it's time for people to know we're Canadian. Now it's time to kind of, let's start from home. We're in Montreal. Let's start. We basically had to work backwards, kind of like Backstreet Boys back in the day. They built their fanship in Europe and then they came to the USA, and that's exactly what we did. And so
tell me a bit about your fan base. Like how many subscribers, listeners, that type of stuff do you have? What kind of reach? I mean, you said mostly American.
Yeah, mostly Americans, highly educated. I'd say 65% women, and then the rest men. Yeah. And it's pretty dispersed. Like, we'd have a good 500 or so at the time. Now it's just grown on iTunes. We're pretty much everywhere. iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. We had the opportunity. Sorry, go ahead.
And is it a video or an audio podcast?
Well, it started off as an audio podcast for the first 3 years, and then before Blab, before YouTube Live and everything, we started doing live video stream through this website called Spreecast. So a lot of the things that Spreecast is doing, I see Blab has implemented. Like they've done their homework and grabbed the best of. Yeah, they've done their research. So the Spreecast has a lot of similarities I see that Blab has implemented. Cool. And I'm sure that, they're still on beta, so they're still doing their research, right? and growing.
I don't know if Vlad's going to be around. It may or may not.
Yeah, that's another conversation.
Exactly.
In itself.
Well, the fact that it's like Twitter runs it, so I'm guessing I'm leaning towards sticking around.
So tell me more
And
about that. You say Twitter runs Blab? That's
that's what I heard, that Twitter owns Blab.
No,
that's not what I
It's not it?
No.
No. Twitter,
What's that?
Blab was started by a venture capitalist. Yeah, venture capitalists put money into Blab where it could run basically as it is for 24 months. Twitter has Periscope. That's their main video streaming platform. So so that's and Shirley, I can so much relate to your story and your journey, because I've been doing my online stuff for almost 10 years. And when I started, it was so difficult to get Canadians on my platform. So, and I didn't cry or pee in the corner. I went down to the US, right? I went down there, got bigger market, got credibility. And I think one of the things for especially people who are starting out, I say you either looking for credibility or profitability. Right. Especially when you get credibility, then the profitability will come, and then you get noticed back in Canada. Now I'm getting the notoriety in Canada I wish I would have wanted in the beginning, but I don't cry. Hey, I'll take the US people. They got money. They pay me in US dollar.
Let's ask the audience that question. If you are doing a podcast or creating content here in Canada, and you started in the US and then sort of worked your way back, put a 1 in the comments, and if you didn't, put a 2. So we know sort of where people are. So you did that. I did.
Well, there are a number of Americans on the platform, so be careful here.
I see it.
It's unfortunate that we had to do that, and you're absolutely right, because once after the 3rd year, felt like we're established, we have a listenership. That's when opportunities of having our show being on, for example, our show now is played in Montreal on terrestrial radio. Yep. It provided us an opportunity also to host a few shows on terrestrial on one of the biggest talk stations in Montreal. But that wouldn't have happened if we didn't do the backwards.
If it didn't start, yeah. I mean, and that's very, very common with any Canadian, like even actors. Like we have our business, and like we are loved in America as Wedge 15. And Canadians are like, yeah, I'm not sure. Do you have any proof of concept? And we're like, dude, I've been on national TV in America multiple times a year. Like, I'm not sure what makes you think.
It's true. I would have never had a meeting with the director of XM Radio, just because, and sitting down with him. And it's funny, someone who has 20 years experience, where I had to educate him about podcasting, and he's like, how do you make money off of this? I just don't understand, But it's unfortunate, and in a way, that's what kind of inspired me with this whole Black Canadian Content Creators Facebook group, because it was all of that frustration, and I could see the support that Black Americans are having and doing within Facebook groups and so on. And I thought, you know what, I'm having a hard time finding I know there are talented Black Canadians that are doing what I'm doing, that are blogging, podcasting, speaking engagements, are social media experts, but I can't. I have a hard time finding them, and because maybe they're doing exactly the same thing we did, where we had to go backwards, right?
Yeah, so true. I'm really glad you created this group, because it sort of like beat the bushes, and I got everybody to come out from hiding, and now there's like 40 people so in the group after a couple of weeks. People are like, oh yeah, I do content. I come like. And it's as I see people flowing in, and I'm like, oh yeah, this person, I'll come in and add them to the group and things like that. It you start to realize just how many of us are out there actually doing this. Like I created a list on my Black in Canada Twitter, where every time I would find somebody who's podcasting or creating content, a blogger, I would add them to this list. And now I have a list, a couple dozen people on there, and I invited all of them to come in, and we're sharing stuff in here and helping each other, and that's the reason we're doing this show. It's like, let's find a way to actually just start this.
Let's start supporting each other. Yeah. learn from one
So
another. Yeah,
let's
you're
start with that. Could you post a link to your podcast where we can,
yeah.
is it your website? Yeah, let's post that so we can all see what it is, see how it's going, go support.
Correction.
Fat fingers today.
Okay.
There we go.
Good job, Dr. All right, so
You,
we'll
you,
pin
you
that
know,
up.
and you know what I like? I like Shirley, and you and your husband have done something that I really think a lot of content creators at the beginning really need to know is that find the need and fill it. And don't worry if someone else is doing what you're thinking. Do it anyways, because find that need and fill it. Who would have thought that like a couple like yourself and your husband would get exposure like crazy in the United States? But you said, you know what? We're going to do it.
It's funny. It's interesting you say that, because that was one of the exciting thing, and it was scary for us too. Having the strategy to come out in the United States, and you learn about the whole racism and things like that, and that was a scary thing for us because we're interracial, and at the time when we came out with the show, there was nothing like us. It was very
there you
was
go.
nothing. There were
you
a few that has been there, but somehow just disappeared, and we were like, you know what? We're just going to attract like-minded people. As long as we stay true to ourselves, then we're going to attract the type of listeners that are like-minded like us.
Awesome.
Excellent.
That's really good.
And that's another great point. Being consistent. Being consistent, because like you said, there are people that were doing the same thing you were, but where are they now?
I've seen many come and go.
It's that long tail of it. It's like people, it's easy to start. It's not easy to stay in the game. It's not easy to say, when nobody's listening, are you still making these podcasts? Are you creating? You get one listening, you're like, oh my God. Like, thank you. And you pull people in, and you go along and you move, and you keep climbing through those hard times. And
absolutely.
Now. It's just like people have no concept of how long it takes to get 500 to 1,000 people to listen to something. It's a massive effort. So
the number one thing I do say, because now we've started we're still growing a podcast network, and we've had some great shows like Taste Like Fried Chicken as an example, where we have two of our hosts, one who's this ultra white Canadian guy from Nova Scotia who co-hosts
ultra white. Is that a new level of white?
Ultra white. He's like a brother to me. That's why I say that to him. His name is Owen.
He's not just white. Like white.
He's ultra white. To his co-host, who's like this really amazing, strong character, Black lesbian in Florida, who is gonna call you on anything, and has so through
that
them
be an interesting pairing. Like
you should listen. It's Tastes Like Fried Chicken. They are a very interesting pairing. But one of the things that starting the network is one of the things I always tell to anyone who's questioned us about starting a podcast is understanding what is your goal, what is the purpose of your podcast. Once you have that, that really helps to keep going, even when you start having that 1 or 10 listener. Just as long as you know what the purpose is of your podcast, it really helps you to just keep going, and eventually you see the fruits of your labor, where just listenership starts growing and growing. And and not to chase your listeners too for listenership.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Have you had that experience, Dr. Vibe, where you created the intention first and then kept going, or was it a little more organic? I know you have I'm just going to do it kind of strategy, which I love to follow, which is like, just throw it up, just figure it out. I think that's how I got into even blabbing. Dr. Vibe was just like, yo, just go, man. Just go.
Just do it.
Like, no, like, like I'm a firm believer of don't get good, get done. Right? Don't get good, get done. Because how many people think all their lives and they never do anything? Right? Get done. When I first started, it was a purpose. I had to think of what was my why. Because if I didn't have a why, if you're into podcasting, podcasting ain't easy. It's a lot of work. Just to piggyback on what Shirley's saying, and that I said, okay, originally my online show would be for Black men, for the education, empowerment, enlightenment, and entertainment of Canadian Black men and those who love them. Now the platform has grown bigger now, but the why is always still there. The why is going to get you through those hard times.
Yeah,
so true.
You know, and I know Ricardo and I say, I'm sure you can testify that with the Black in Canada in its early days also.
Yeah, I've been doing that since 2010, so it's been we're in our 6th year.
Yeah,
and
congrats.
We started, as I said, with 0 friends, 0 followers, 0 fans. And I'm like, people like, that's not going to work. And I'm like, okay, I think it is. And I just kept going, and 300 profiles, and we just like on and on and on, and it's grown to the point now where we have over on social media, when you add them up, it's over 20,000 fans or followers in that area, and then another, I don't know, 6,000 or 8,000 people in email lists. So it's grown significantly over the years, and the only focus of it is Black excellence. I'm like, that's it. I'm just gonna find Black Canadians who are doing awesome shit. I'm gonna let you know. There's no parties, there's no events, there's no, hey, this is cool little instant. No, it's very boring, very plain. It's like, but there's such a need and a hunger for it that people keep coming back in droves, and it worked. So consistency,
and also another key for, I think, everyone on here, and I'm sure people who are in the audience, know your audience. Listen to what they want, and if you don't know what they want, ask them.
Yeah, people will tell you.
I
have a different take on that. I don't like to ask the audience what they want. So that
I don't ask them anymore. They tell me.
So I take the opposite philosophy. I mean, we're talking about this today. It's like there's no right way to do things. It's, you do whatever works for you. And my take on it is really, it's my blog. I'm going to do what I want to do. True. And if you like it, create a blog. Join me. So everybody has advice and things. Lots of people, especially in the early years, were like, hey, you should do, here's a bright idea. You should add this, you should do that. You should have a section just for events. I'm like, there's 100 people doing events. I'm like, I don't need to aggregate events. I have this purple cow mentality from Seth Godin, which is like, if everybody's going left, you go right. And that way you stand out and you draw people back to you. He's like, don't try to run with the crowd. Just take 2 steps to the left. So if people are doing events, no events on my website. It's like, and people are, what can I pay you to do? I'm like, sorry, man. No, not doing it. It's not doing it. And
see, I've had people. I'm in the same boat as, like, I had to grow into what you're saying, because I was that kind of, that's a good thing when you have a co-partner or co-host or someone you're working with, because they help you see a different perspective. Because I was the person like, we need to do this because look, they're doing that, And Claude was instrumental. Be like, no, we just keep doing us. No, we're innovators. He had to always blinders, Shirley. He put it on me, but it always worked out. Like, eventually it's like, okay, I see the importance. There's so many things that we've implemented. Now I'm seeing everybody is implementing in their podcasts or like in interracial groups, where we introduced, to showcase the beauty of, we call it Chonilla Love. So we would share interracial couples from around the world. Now all of them are doing it,
Right. Cool.
So
cool. Now, I also want to mention to everybody who's watching us live and enjoying the show that please jump in and add to the show. This is not about us. I mean, we're going to switch these things up. We're going to have people stay in. We're going to have them move out. But we want to hear about your show, about the content you're creating, your blogs, your questions about it or help. There's tremendous amount of knowledge and experience sitting in this room. So if you have any questions about what microphone to buy, what hosting platform to use, should we use Patreon? Like, how do you begin to create a campaign on YouTube? What about my SEO? Like, now's the time to get it. We have everyone from Askia, who is in here, who owns an agency in Florida, just sold it to Ryan in Calgary, who also has a company out there doing web and hosting and SEO. I mean, he's been teaching me tons of stuff over the last couple of days in YouTube SEO, and he's like changing up the way I'm doing things, like right on the spot. So Dr. Vibe, obviously, years of experience, and like he got me onto this. Like, so
and I had
jump in the seat, ask questions, pick the brains. Now's the time.
Yeah. If you pick my brain, you won't get infected. Just remember that. You ain't gonna get infected if you pick my brain. But no, that's the thing. There's so much. There's so much.
Carlin, what's happening? If you have time, please jump in. Who else is in the room? Michael, Daniel, feel free.
Yeah.
And the rest is us. Everybody will come and go. So Tashi will be back. But back to what we were talking.
But I just think it's a really great time, and I agree, Shirley, that I wish there were more Black Canadians involved in online, and maybe there are, but I wish they just, pop their head out of the cubby hole once in a while, right?
Yeah.
Now we have a space for us to actually meet. There wasn't actually anything like that before.
Yeah.
And I've actually bumped into a few people who are on YouTube and have like 1 million subscribers or something, like 1 million views or something. And she's huge.
Yes.
One of the biggest YouTube stars out of Canada. There's another one, Cake It, who's in 1 year grew to over 1 million.
Wow.
I want to say 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was phenomenal, and all she does is she makes cakes. I'm gonna try and find her channel and post it. It's phenomenal.
Post it.
Like, she does some crazy stuff on the cakes, and I know the people behind the whole program and how they did the whole thing. So it's kind of funny. Keep talking amongst yourselves. Don't wait for me. I'm gonna dig it up.
Okay, no problem. But Shirley. So I always like to find out the process behind a success. So who was the first person to think of the idea of the group? Was it yourself or your husband?
Oh, that was myself. Believe it or not, there's Ricardo, You're Black in Canada was actually a seed of inspiration to start the group. Plus, my fans who are also podcasters who happens to be Americans who were inviting us to groups, a podcasting group, Black-owned podcasts. Were also an inspiration, and also a situation where one of our guests on the who is Canadian content creator themselves. During our conversation on the podcast, there was this aspect, and other bloggers that I've spoken to, bloggers of color who are Canadian, who were finding themselves when they would go to these social media events or conferences, I should say, they weren't seeing themselves. And so it was just all of these kind of combination where I said, you know what, I'm really having a hard time finding. I know there's people out there. I think it's time. I guess in a way, yes, I'm going to say it selfishly. I wanted to connect and find fellow Canadian people that I know are doing great things and creating great content out there.
Absolutely. No, I can relate.
And this is the YouTube channel for Cake It, Yolanda Gamp. And as you can see here, 1.7 million subscribers.
Wow.
1 year.
Holy
1 year. No.
Wow.
It's insane. Like, let me post the link to it.
And again, she's not the only.
Instagram,
she's not, go ahead.
Yeah, she's not the only one. But she started with a friend of ours who we were working with on a different project in Wedge 15, and they worked with E1 Entertainment, and they create TV shows and get them sold. So they had all this experience in that industry, and they found her and the cakes that she's doing, and just said, "Hey, could we make a channel with you?" And she was like, "Sure." And she makes stuff that doesn't even look like a cake, and she takes you through the whole thing from scratch. It's next level. Like, all this stuff you're seeing here is cakes. Like, every single thing, like the fries, that's not fries. That's a cake.
Wow.
That she makes.
Watermelon cake.
Like, you think it's just like food. It's like, no, it's all cake. So like
That's
all of
amazing.
that whole thing.
Wow. Wow.
See, it's great to know that there's people like her. I wouldn't have not known, like, and it's great to see Canadians like her that are just doing
Just crushing it.
amazing content.
Yeah, totally
I
crushing
I,
it. And
I need to touch base with her. I need to touch base with her definitely, because one of the things that's been, especially when you share each other's successes, share each other's platforms, and I have a very good working relationship with a magazine called Cuisine Noir in the United States, which is it's the only online magazine dedicated to African American food, wine, and culture. And definitely, I want to find out about her, because I would love to get her featured on that magazine, big time.
She is awesome. I mean, look at this. I'm a big geek for numbers. So 500,000 views, and it was uploaded yesterday.
Okay, I'm gonna definitely take her information down and. Wow.
Wow.
How to cake it.
Next level.
And you.
This is the power of Canadian. Because Canadians are doing some very good quality content out here, and it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We should be connecting and helping each other and doing sorts of stuff. Why not work together? So let's see if anybody has. What's that? Khalud. Welcome. Tell us where you're from, man. And welcome back. Who is this?
My audio.
Yeah.
Is everyone's audio okay? Because mine is not great.
Yeah, my audio is acting funny too.
Yeah. You need to come back out. Come back in, Ricardo. Okay. Yeah, I think he needs to exit out and X back in. But yeah, sure. Yeah, like I've already got her information, and I'm gonna touch base with her to see if she wants to get featured on Cuisine Noir magazine, because that'd be a great opportunity for her.
Can you?
Because I've been blessed.
And you said Casino Noir magazine is. Can you post the link? That'd be a great site to check out.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Ricardo.
Welcome back.
Yes.
I'll post the link to it.
Absolutely. Go.
I do have a question for you, Ricardo. Shirley. When you started Black in Canada, you're not doing questions.
What's going on? I like to tell people, I can ask you questions.
Don't worry, I won't tell your wife. It's funny because when people ask me to be on the podcast, I'm more nervous doing that. It's weird. Then it's like, no, just put me behind the microphone. It's much better for me. I ask questions. Don't ask me. When you started Black in Canada, what was the first?
It's shopping.
All
right. So
when you first started Black in Canada, what was it like to start finding Black Canadian excellence, and how did they take the idea of being featured at first? Did you have some where they were a little bit hesitant, or they were just, everybody for the most part was on board?
Yeah, nobody was on board pretty much. They all yeah, it all got started from the book Who's Who in Black Canada. So I found the publisher of that book, contacted her, wanted to do a partnership with her, and said I'd love to take that content and start putting it online and start creating it in a digital format. And she was like, send me a proposal and I'd love to work with you. Wrote one up, not even a page, told her what my ideas were, and basically sent it off. She responded with, awesome sauce, here's everything, give you the rights, and signed everything over. And I'm like, hang on, I don't want to own your stuff. I want to actually partner with you. And she's like, yeah, I am burnt out. I'm done. Just take it and do whatever you want. I like what you said. And I went, so I'm sitting here like, okay. So now I'm starting with 700 profiles, completely done, written in this whole book. So I'm like, okay, let's start creating this and start putting these out, seeing who else is out here, and just started looking. Just started with that. And at first, people were saying things, not too many. I'm talking about 2% of people were saying things like, you'll run out of people, You won't have enough. There's not enough people to do that. You won't find any men. Like on and on and on. And a lot of this was coming from within the community. And I was like, I said, well, actually, when I just paused for a minute and look, it's actually everywhere. Like, we're awesome. I'm like, don't believe the hype on the news. I'm like, we're actually we're doing really well. So when I started looking and, you're bumping into people who had stats and numbers and research, and you're starting to see that the Black community that gets portrayed in the media is coming from the priority neighborhoods, as they like to say here in Toronto. And those are sort of trouble or hot spots. People are new immigrants to the country or are chronically on welfare in those areas. So there's 17 areas like that in the GTA. And so that gets a lot of media and coverage every time there's a shooting or something in those areas. Like, everybody's out covering it. So that becomes the normal narrative for the Black experience in Canada, which couldn't be further from the truth. Because when you think about it, those neighborhoods represent less than 1% of the entire population of the 2 million people in the city. And if Black people in Toronto represent, 600, 700,000 people, if every single person in those neighborhoods was Black, which they're not, I said it would still only be 5% of the entire Black population. So Scarborough, Mississauga, North York, Brampton, downtown, those are all other neighborhoods where Black people are living, getting up every day, going to work, doing regular stuff. And that's not being covered in the news. So the average experience of the Black person in Canada is actually one of middle class and success. That's actually the real story. But nobody will ever tell you that in the media. So there's never been a shortage of finding people to be profiled. There's a waiting list of about 1,000 people right now who've applied through the website. And the only problem I have is finding enough people to write the profiles. That's my problem. It's, if you want to write and help, I'm like, I got a lot of work for that. A lot of work.
That's why I went. That's why I went into podcasting, because I knew that I'd find lots of people. I said, I'm gonna get my hands are gonna be like this with all the writing I have to do. So I just use my trap.
It started off sort of slow. People were still a little, I'm not sure. Once people started seeing the content, and we focused on presenting people in a very positive, uplifting, quality way. We're not going to have this type of, photograph on there. I want to see your face. I want to look in your eyes. I want high resolution pictures, big pictures on the website. I want to talk about your life. I want to find out where you were born, like when you grew up, like what struggles you were facing, to really take a different sort of slice at just the traditional bio and really get to know the person. I'm like, what are you afraid of in life? Like, what's next for you? So you really create this 360 impression of the person, so that, give me all your social media. I'm going to add that to the website, because I want people to be able to go, wait, this person's real, click, 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 and just get right to them. And once that started happening, people started loving it. And I started getting different phone calls probably about a year or two in, where people started saying, my dad just passed away and I wanted to call you. And I was like, okay, this was like 9:00 on a Saturday morning. And he's like, I'm an international photographer. He has a studio downtown, amazing work. Travels around the world. That's all he does is photography. And he said the first time in my life my dad ever said he was proud of me was when I was featured on the website. He said he was in the hospital. He goes, I'm proud of you, man. He said, this is a big deal. And it's because we are recognizing ourselves. We're not waiting for somebody to come along to say you're great. It's not like, oh, you got this or you got that. It's like that exact similar story came from an executive at a bank here in Toronto who flew back home to Grenada to see his mom. She's taking him around to the market. She goes, this is my son, he's a big shot. He's in Black in Canada. Like, forget about the Toronto bank and your executive. He's like, whatever. He's in Black in Canada, So this sense of pride from the community is what I'm starting to see now, where it's this love and respect, and people are starting to say, you know what? Things are different. And we started like, here's a tailor. There's multiple tailors in the city who can give you a custom suit. And businesses are starting to flourish and recognize, and like people are starting to focus on the positive rather than whatever is being done in the media. So I'm really happy to see new bloggers, new content. I'm like, come on, people are copying you. I'm like, I don't care. I got 1,000 people here. Like, I'll give you 100 to start. Like, let's go. Like, there's
Yeah.
room for everybody
Let's
in
go.
this thing. And we are so great. We have contributed so much to the fabric of this country that goes unrecognized because, you know, we have this put our head down, be quiet, and just keep moving. And I really think it does a disservice to young people, and it does a disservice to other people who are actually doing great things, to hide. It's like nobody's coming to give you an award. Nobody's coming to give you a pat on the back. Like, nobody's coming to create the Black Content Creators Group. I'm like, we have to create.
Yeah.
We have to do the plan. We have to be the ones that come here and actually just say, yeah, here's a spot. Boom. A couple of weeks in, 40, 50 people. Like,
It's true.
Yeah.
and that's just a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to continue to grow to hundreds of people. And we're going to help each other, and we're all going to get stronger, and we're going to grow. And it's like, we're going to make it, instead of each of us trying to do this one-on-one deal. Like, you have experience on how to build a podcast. Like, somebody comes along and says, how do you do that? You'd be like, let's sit down and talk. You'll just tell them.
Yeah.
I'm sure you would, Shirley.
Like,
That's how I got it from Dr. Vibe gave that to me. He said, Ricardo, this is how I do it. I don't prepare. I put it on. I book it. I get the guest, and I roll.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Because I've been sitting in my head for about 6 months thinking of the perfect questions to ask and doing research. He goes, yeah, I just go live.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going live. And that's how I got into this. No, I have a podcast. Like 2 months into this, and people are like, Ricardo, I saw your podcast. I'm like, you saw my podcast? I'm like, I started last month, you know? So it's it started off as usual, always a little rocky, but stick to your vision, keep rolling, and they'll see it.
Yeah.
They will.
Did that answer your question?
Definitely. You know, it's great. I've always was curious to know how it started off and how it was received, especially the people who's been featured and things like that. And it was a breath of fresh air to see this site happening, because it was needed, and it's great for young people to, it helps. It's great to see yourself, you know, to recognize some sense of, I see me in her, or I see me in him. And, oh, I didn't know that I could do that. You know, like I always tell the story that, you know, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be an opera singer, but I remembered I didn't see myself. So it's not something I felt I wanted to chase anymore, because I just simply didn't recognize there wasn't any Black opera singers at the time when I was young. And
Misha Berger.
Yeah, and I appreciate people like Misha now, because it's like, thank you for just looking past that and saying, you know what, I'm just gonna do me, and it's great, because now she's opened the doors for so many young Black Canadians.
It's so important, Shirley. You brought up a point about seeing yourself, and young people, and what warms my heart the most is when I get an email from a class at school that says, you know, we are doing research for Black History Month, which is usually the month they always go looking. And we're using your website as a resource for all the students in the entire school. And everybody has to pick a profile and then write up something on that person. And then we're going to put them up in the hallways, and the entire school is going to go through and see this content. And I'm like, I want to see little white girls, little Black boys, like everybody understanding that the greatness that is within us, so that starts to shift and shape people's minds, their thinking, their perceptions, so that it starts to move the world, you know, closer to like, yeah, Black people are awesome. Like, because the average impression is not that. Just, you know, if I'm standing in the street, people are going to be like, there's a little kind of like, should I cross the street? Like, what's going on? Like, that is still a reality. So I do this to create the antithesis of that, so that people have something else to hook on to start moving in the direction that I think makes a difference for not only myself, but everyone else. So I'm really glad to see that type of it. My intention is landing with people that you're like, I see myself. I'm like, good. So it's working. I'm like, I'm just like, that is just above everything. That is the biggest thing for me. So thank you for sharing that. I didn't know.
Oh, welcome.
What's up, Jonathan? Welcome to the conversation.
I'll just piggyback on what Ricardo just shared, and I'll give an experience that happened to me about a week and a half ago. I was asked by a gentleman to come and speak to his young entrepreneurs class in the West End of Toronto, and it was a great experience. Like, we rolled for about 2 hours there, where it's young entrepreneurs in different stages of entrepreneurship. And one of the things that really touched me was the next day a gentleman emailed me and said, you know what, I haven't had that many Black male role models in my life that I'm really happy and proud of, and you've become one of them. And what was really touching is that I've got different people of different backgrounds now keeping in touch with me in regards to it. So just piggybacking on what Ricardo was saying, that again, it's changing that narrative. You know, they see you for your heart. They don't see you for your skin color. They see that you are real and true, and you have a passion. And that email really touched me. It really. And then the next day, a lady who's a Filipino background said, Dr. Vibe, I need your help. You know, those are the moments that keep you going.
We live in amazing times with amazing people, and it's just putting down our own biases as we meet people. Really, you'll be surprised. Like, I am surprised more than I'm ever like anything else. Like, I was in Oakville a few months back speaking at a high school. We're talking to these kids, you know, a couple hundred kids in the auditorium and blah, blah, blah. And we're talking about how social media that they're using, from Snapchat to Facebook to Twitter and all these things, are really an advantage when it comes to job opportunities, and how they should put this on their resume and their LinkedIn and blah, 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 blah. And this young woman came up to me after and was like, you know, I really loved what you said, and you know, really inspired, and da-da-da. It was like her and her friends, and I'll say this, they were white. And I was like, okay, well, great, thank you, you know. I'm so glad you did this. And then they tweeted at me, and I responded. And there was this, like, they were asking questions on Twitter. And I said, no, that's unusual. So I'm like, who is this person? So I started going through, typed her name into Google, and, you know, and then find her on Facebook. And I'm like, okay, who is this person? Only to find out that her stepfather is a Jamaican man that has been raising her since she was like months old. And her mom is white. But her dad is a Black man.
Wow.
And it was like a video of them sitting there, and he's like showing how to ride a bike or something, and she's like laughing with it. And I was just like, Ricardo, get rid of your own bias, get rid of your own judgment, like step aside from it and just actually just meet people. And it's like, I mean, it just reminded me so much of like, this is exactly what I'm trying to stop, and I'm actually doing this myself. And this is what you know, it's just how I grew up. And I'm like, it's like a bad habit that you're trying to break. Like, stop the judgment, like just meet people. And it was a beautiful reminder, and I'm glad we met and answered whatever questions she had there. And she's off doing her thing, so good for her. So if anybody else wants to jump in this seat, share your website, share your blog, what's going on with you, or have a question on how to do any of this stuff, the expertise in this room is off the charts, and we are here for you. So if nobody has a question, I will create one.
Absolutely.
What type of microphones does everyone use? I am currently using this Apple G mic, the 96 mic, and it's a USB mic. And I got it because it was small, because it can plug right into your iPhones if you wanted to go somewhere and meet someone, or it plugs right into your laptop and off you go. So I don't need the audio tuning set as much as I want that stuff now that I'm doing for a podcast. I'm like, well, I gotta get a proper mic. So what mics does everyone use if they're doing audio podcasts?
Well, when we first
Shirley,
started, and I'm not sure if Behringer continues to create this kit, but Behringer used to have a kit where for podcasting, and it would give you a little board, like a 2-channel board if you're going to be a solo podcaster. We got the one with 2. I think the board had like 4 channels actually, with 2 microphones, and it comes with the board, two microphones. And now we've upgraded to Audio-Technica microphone. So anything Audio-Technica is good. Is good now.
Nice.
And I knew it was good because one day when we started the, a few times hosting at the station, I see they use it too. So I'm like, yeah, it's good. But now with that, and that was like, years ago. But now there's so many great things like, was it the ball there? There's the blue snowball. That's really good.
Snowball.
Yeah, Askia was talking about that. Yeah.
Yes. When you start out, like if and I say this starting out. If you're starting a podcast, yes, I feel you, Doctor.
I'm
my point is that if you're starting
point.
out, I get it. Funds can be tight for some of us. And so if you're thinking, I want to start off something with something, that Yeti or Blue Ball is really great. Yeah. But eventually, if you're really thinking of taking it seriously, then spend a little bit more. When we started it, we had a plan. I'm a much more creative person. I'm a very let's just do it. Yeah. But Clove is very analytical person, and he's gonna do the research.
He's downloading the PDFs and he's reading the stats and
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I appreciate it.
You let me know which one you want to choose, but I like this one.
Exactly. But we both knew that we wanted to take this seriously, so we said, okay, we're not going to start off with that. We're going to start off with the Behringer and then grow from there. Right. And I always say
between the starting mic and the Audio-Technica, was it after 6 months, after a year? At what point did you go, you know what, we're going in for this thing?
I think by the second year.
Okay.
Around the second year of the podcast, that's when we're like, okay, we're going to invest a little bit more and upgrade to an Audio-Technica. We got a bigger board. We started Firewire and all of that stuff. We changed.
And what kind of investment are we talking ballpark to move into Audio-Technica? Is it because I know audio can be insane and it's in the thousands for sure. For sure, it's in the thousands if you move into that zone.
If you really want kind of good range quality, I would say in the range of between 600 to 1,000. Eventually. You don't realize it adds up, but it gets to that. If you want, the most important thing I say to anyone starting a podcast is don't make your listeners struggle to hear you. I don't like it. It has to come out clear. Clovis here. He's like, what? So if you really don't want your listeners to struggle hearing you, you'd have to dish out a good 600 to 1,000, right?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh gosh, more?
So recently I'm going to be starting a blog about basically I'm from Detroit, right? So I really want to start a blog. Yeah, I just want to start a blog to really raise
Detroit. I love Detroit.
Problems down there, for Black people, such as drug addiction and AIDS. So I was wondering, you guys have any tips?
Mm-hmm.
Can I step in here with a few things? Shirley, I love you, but I respectfully disagree on the microphone. And the reason why I'm going to say this, is that my mentor, when it comes to audio engineering, has 50 years of audio engineering experience. And he said the best mic for the money is on Audio-Technica 2020. You can get it for $100, and if you put it up against more expensive microphones, you will not hear a big difference.
Condenser microphone.
Yes. So I'm just, and the nice thing about that microphone,
that's pretty
you can
cool.
use it with
Yeah,
USB
really cool.
and XLR.
Okay.
So I'm going to retract. When I first started in this online podcasting, the 2020 wasn't around. I ended up buying this mic here, which cost me almost $200. This is a Rode NT1-A. Great microphone, but you don't need it. All you need these days, get a 2020. There's a gentleman on the side who bought his for like $100. If you keep a watch on Amazon, periodically they have it on sale for $40. Best microphone for the money you can get. Right? Best microphone you can buy for the money, bar none. Bar none. And take it from someone who has 50 years of audio engineering experience.
All right.
The next thing I'm going to say is, if you do any remote stuff, you may want to invest into something like this. This is a Zoom microphone.
Right, that seems like some pretty.
These microphones, if you watch.
What about that? Is that a good quality mic right there?
Right. If you're going out on location or things like that, like I do.
Hello.
Mm-hmm. It's a good if you watch a lot of sports events and you see interviews after, you'll see this microphone being used by reporters. The wonderful thing about it, you can put up to 4 gigs SD card, up to 120 hours of MP3 recording. You can actually use it for your the higher models have XLR. You can plug in. You can actually use this for your podcast.
Awesome sauce. This is why we're doing this. It's like we want to get to these types of things in here. That's
right.
So what about
the nice thing about this microphone?
What about this microphone right here? I was actually considering buying it. Is this good quality, or although it can't be taken?
Let me just say.
What?
Okay. Let me just. I'll open up the link.
I'm going to ask you to refresh because your audio is still a little choppy. Yeah. So if you could I'm going to kick you out. Just come back in, and we'll see that audio.
On first look at it, I guess it'd be okay, but when I'm seeing something for $13, $14, I have like concern.
It's a beautiful color. I love the color. But for $14, it's not.
Yeah.
It's one of those things in production that they say can't be fixed, audio. Like even when we shoot video for clients and things, we tell people we go hog wild on audio because it's the only thing that cannot be fixed in post-production. If we have bad lighting, we can adjust. We can.
Yeah.
With audio, spend the money on audio. If you have crappy video and great audio, people will watch it. But if the audio is off, no one will be like, no.
Yeah. People will tolerate bad video. They won't tolerate bad audio.
You got me speaking in French.
But I heard the cheaper the microphone, the better, because I heard that if you just save costs, it's always good. You know what I mean?
It's 100% wrong. It's 100% wrong.
Okay. That's no. That I fully disagree. I think the barriers to getting in the podcast game are lower than ever now. The challenge is, are you willing to do the work and stay consistent? If someone if someone tells me they're a podcaster and I ask them, how many podcasts have you done? Well, I've done about 3. I said, you're not serious yet.
Agree.
I'll be straight up.
To be honest, I really just want to have a way to make
I don't think you're serious yet.
Easy way.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to interject again. If you're going into podcasting to make money, quit now. No, go ahead. No, you can do what you want, and I'm sorry to sort of be hard on you, but I'm telling you, quit now. You'll get frustrated. You will.
You're going to get obsessed with numbers. You're going to get obsessed with how many people are listening to you. It really takes time. It takes at least you have to stick to it at least 3 years. And I totally agree with you with 10. We knew how serious we were, that before we launched the show, we made sure to record 10 episodes. Because we said, we made sure we recorded 10 episodes and we said, we are not posting this show until we have 10. So that way, for two reasons, to show how serious, to get an idea, is this something that we want to dedicate and do? But also for strategy reason, yeah, we were playing with the numbers as well, that when you come out with 10 episodes, you have 10 in the bank on iTunes and you're coming out, then you could choose, okay, I know I have 10 in the bank. I could come out with the show once a week on iTunes, and it provides you a better chance to be new and noteworthy on iTunes. And we knew that by studying, by looking at other shows that we were fans of. So we knew how to play with the numbers.
If blogging
and the
podcasts
algorithms
aren't a
as
good
well.
way of making money easily, like, you know, making money without doing anything, what else is a good way of making money without doing anything? Because I really just don't want to do anything. I just want to make money. Yeah.
Well,
honestly, go stand in the corner and have a sign saying, please give me money.
I'm 19 and a half, almost 20.
Yeah, you are way too young to be that lazy. You need to
I
start working, man. Go like, I was your age. I already owned a company and had like 16 employees, man. Like,
no,
you
I'm
need to
good.
work.
I'll probably just
There's
go
no such thing as
welfare
easy
soon.
money. It's a
No,
All right,
I'm not.
cool.
I'm actually serious. Listen,
All right.
listen.
You do that, man.
There's no point. There's no point.
No. All right, we're not talking about
There's
that.
no
We're gonna
point.
get back to the
There's no point
podcast.
in work.
Thank you so much for being here. Thanks, Helios. But let's get it back on topic.
Yeah. I fully, you know, and that's the thing, right? And maybe he doesn't realize that a podcast is not just when you're live on air.
Shows you,
right? You've got to find the guest. You got to contact the guest. You got to make sure that you got to work around. You got to get schedules to take together. Like, okay, so Ricardo and Shirley, if you do a 1 hour show, how much total hours have you put into that 1 hour show?
I would say for us, the average 1 hour show takes between 3 to 4 hours.
That's before the show.
If you count everything. That's before the show, yeah.
Yeah.
That's researching, the time of finding a guest.
Inviting, emails, coordinating
with the guest. Yeah, researching about the guest. Prepping the guest. Sometimes there's some guests that, what I like to do anyway, because my background is in radio broadcasting, I love to get a sense of the guest before even having them on.
Pre-interview.
So I will have a phone. We'll have a phone conversation, because it helps me understand maybe this guest, I have to kind of pull them in a little bit, and it helps me with having questions to pull them into the conversation. Are they crude, where it's okay for me to kind of like, we could say certain words?
Can we cuss on the podcast?
Do they have a did they have a sense of humor? It's so important for me anyway to have that pre-conversation, to just get a sense of who we're talking to, and that's just covering the guest portion. You know, like most of our time is after that
the show. Then you got to get into encoding, editing, adding trailers, bubbles, like putting it uploading it to YouTube. That's going to be half an hour, 45 minutes.
Promoting it.
Then you got to do email. You gotta share it to other people and make sure they're doing it. You're right. For a 1 hour show,
getting back to the feedback of that show.
3 to
4 hours.
3 to 6 hours on a 1 hour show.
Yeah.
On either side of that doesn't include the 1 hour on the show.
Yeah. And I know. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say too, a lot of podcasters are doing it on their own. Right? Shirley, you are very blessed. You and your husband. The majority of podcasters are solopreneurs. They're solo podcasters. So that even makes it more of a challenge. I've been doing it for 9 years. I'm telling you, it's a lot of work.
I know you're in the right track. Yes. But isn't it true though? Would you agree? You're in the right track of podcasting is when you start having people who you're helping to start a podcast, and then they say to you, "You make it look so easy." That's when you know you're on the right track. When you make it look like I just went on the microphone and post.
We had a lovely conversation. It was flowing like water. It was
right.
Like, don't you love the people that say, "I'm so scared. I'm so nervous. And then after it's finished, they go,
yeah, I really
that
love
was
it
so
when that happens,
easy.
because it means that we've made the guests feel at home. We've made them feel
Yeah.
at ease, and they were able to get into things, or even get people to say things they weren't planning on saying. And then it's just like, oh, that is like, I remember the first time that happened, I was interviewing this guy who's a director of a film who's in the Hot Docs Festival here in Toronto. We're doing the whole lab thing. And by the end of the interview, this guy had explained to me what he was interviewing somebody who was in San Quentin prison in the United States. And he had to go into the prison to interview the guy. And he was telling me how he got into the prison. He goes, it's not like TV. He's like, I had to strip like butt. I'm standing in a room. There are people like looking, checking, coughing, bend over. Like he said, it was an hour process to just be able to get in here to sit in a room with him. He said, and then when you go to sit with him, he goes, it's not like TV behind, everyone's behind a glass. He goes, you're just in an open courtyard with criminals and people there talking to them. So you're standing there and there's people with tattoos and like, he's like, if they wanted to kill me, there was nothing I could do. He goes, I was just in there with them. And then you had to separate. There was another pat down before you left to make sure you did. Like, I was like, whoa, dude. And he had to go back multiple times to interview this guy in prison because sometimes he'd be in or sometimes he'd be out. And it was just like, whoa.
I remember that.
I was not expecting that. And that, I mean, that to me was one of my moments where I just went, wow, people can really, when you make them feel comfortable, can really start sharing some incredible things. So.
Well, and just to piggyback onto that, a number of years ago, like early when I was doing online broadcasting, I interviewed a lady, and then after I spoke with her PR person, and we just began speaking, having a conversation. I said, you know what? You should come on the show. She goes, well, what am I going to talk about? And I said, well, what do you feel comfortable chatting about? And this is the first time I met her. She said, you know what? I'm going to come on your show and talk about how I was molested by family members between the ages of 10 and 15 years old. And you have moments in your online journey like Ricardo had, and I sit there that you just go, it's gone to another level. Like, and it's all about creating the environment. And as I always say to people who come on for the first time, we're going to have a conversation, because a lot of people get nervous when they hear the word interview. They get very nervous. I say, no, we're going to have a conversation, and I'll be open with people. And I say it all the time. I've done over 1,000 of them. I hardly prep for any of them, because the greatest gift that an online broadcaster has is your ears. Listen to what the people are saying and address what they're saying. If you can do that, you're on your way. You're on your way. I just listen to what people say. And at the end, they say, wow, that was really good. I said, well, all we did is talk about you. You shared something. I asked you about
everybody knows about it.
It wasn't hard for you. Yeah, and when they feel comfortable, like Ricardo says, they open up more. They open up more. And the major influence I had that early in my career was watching Tavis Smiley many years ago interview Harrison Ford. And Harrison Ford doesn't like doing interviews. He's synonymous. And halfway through the interview, Harrison Ford said, you know what? I'm really enjoying this. I really don't like doing these things, but you're making me feel great. And I said, bam, that's what I need to do.
Yeah, I studied a lot. I have a very Oprah Winfrey style. I really studied her a lot. And I love the way that she, you know, one of the things that we like to do is implement our experiences to relate with whoever we're talking to. And we're very open as well to let our guests know if we don't know something, that's okay. You know, like, and they love it, because then it gives them a chance to educate us or to teach us. So having that approach and being, you know, kind of put your ego aside really helps open your guests up to talk to you further. And I mean, people love to exchange their knowledge with you when you do that.
And also, to another great influence on me earlier on is the series Inside the Actors.
That's one of my favorites right there.
He's king interviewer.
Like if anyone wants to know how to really do it, just rack it on an interview, watch any of those episodes. The man was
Inside the Actors
phenomenal. You just
I'll pull it up for
you
you
just
to
brought.
share the link. It's
Yep.
that to me is a
Yes.
beacon for
Yeah.
like if I can get to that point,
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Lipton.
James
Yeah, you
Lipton.
study what he
You want to
does.
follow
Yeah,
James
yeah.
Lipton.
Yes.
Yes.
Another great
Yes.
interviewer for me is also
Yeah.
Strombo. George Stroumboulopoulos.
Yes.
Yeah, he's not bad. Yes, he's good. He's very good. He's very, very good.
Another
I
great-
like
yeah.
Strombo. I love Tavis Smiley. I love Tavis Smiley was my major reason for doing the show.
Yeah.
Because I said, I want to be like that. I want just like people to come digitally and just hang out like we're on a couch, just hanging out. And I remember I had Larry King, not bad. I don't mind him. I remember I had a number of years ago, he came to Toronto and it was at an event and he walked in and I just said, hey, pleasure to meet you. You're an influence. This is what I do for my show. He said, come on over. So we had about a 20-minute conversation. He just started giving me nugget after nugget after nugget after nugget. And but definitely inside the actor studio.
I like Strombo because
fantastic.
he is like he gets up in your face and he's just talking to you, you know, like he just keeps it really.
Yeah.
I remember going to one of the tapings of the shows and he was there and they were just like, oh, how do you get your wardrobe? He goes, I don't have wardrobe. He goes, this is what I wear. These are all my clothes. He goes, I don't have people outfitting me. He goes, I just wear this because this is, he said, when I leave, I'm just going home. I'm not changing to go and do a thing. Like, these are my shoes. He said, I buy like 6 pairs of the exact same shoe because that's what I wear and I want to be consistent with it. He said, I find something I like, I'll just get 6 of them. I get 6 shirts, I get 6 shoes, 6 pants. So when you see him, he's always usually just wearing this all black and whatever it is. But it's like, I would like take those nuggets. And whenever I started doing my podcast, I'm like, I'm just going to wear a t-shirt because that's what I wear. And 9 times out of 10, it's a black t-shirt because that's what I actually just wear 10 out of 10 times when I'm at home. So I'm like, just take these things, just, you know, have yourself, is YouTube the preferred platform? What's the preferred platform? It depends on what you want to do. I mean, if you want to do video, I mean, Facebook Live is about to turn things off the chain. Now you can do interviews like this on
Upside
Facebook
down.
Live with 2 people, which has a built-in audience. It has built-in reach. It's like, so that's going to really compete with YouTube. I love this platform, Blab, because it allows the main conversation to happen and it allows everybody on top to listen in like radio, but also jump in like you're doing, Jonathan, asking that question like while we live and like dealing with it. And I love the interaction. Like that to me that's the goal. I'm like, I don't want to broadcast. I'm like, no, I have no interest in doing Periscope or any of those things. It's just like, I don't want to sit here and just talk to you for 20 minutes. Like, who cares? I want you to talk and I want to engage. And I'm like, that's what I find interesting. It's like, tell me about you. I'm interested. The people are amazing. I'm always amazed by people and who they are in their lives. And it's like, how do we get to share more of that in the world? So I upload everything to YouTube when I'm done, just because it's going to be a good place for SEO and it's a place for my podcast to live. I'm also on Patreon. If you want to support me, I'd appreciate $2. Thank you. Little pluggy plug. And
I love Blab for that reason too.
So you get the audio files. I don't know what to do with those yet, so I haven't done anything. I literally started this thing a few months ago, just following Dr. Vibe's lead of just saying, just go do it. And I'm like, I've done like 10 of them. I think it's the 10.
Well, see, and one of the things I did a few years ago is the company that hosts all my podcasts is a company called Libsyn. And they're probably the largest company in the world when it comes to storing podcasts. So, and that's another thing if you're going to have an online presence, whether you're going to write an article or you're going to do a LIBSYN. And they host podcasts for the NFL. Like they're the biggest company in the world in regards to that. So I just reached out to the president and said, hey, love you to come on the show.
I love it.
Love to. And then they have, I just asked them, like, what, just asked them. And then they had their community manager come on. I asked her, she said, love to come on. Then they featured my show on one of their weekly podcasts.
Nice.
Right? Yeah, and so it's a lovely represent. And actually, Shirley, we can chat offline. There's a gentleman in the United States that has a website that's dedicated to great Black podcasters.
Is it Elon James?
I don't know how.
Is that his name? Okay.
No. It's a gentleman named, I believe his name is Mike Street, and he actually works for one of the top. Is it Burrell Communications? Okay. One of the top communications companies is huge. And someone in my network reached out to him to come get me on his show, and he interviewed me for 45 minutes. And every month or two, he puts up the link in his Twitter feed. Check out Dr. Vibe. Check out Dr. Vibe. Check out Dr. Vibe. So we can chat offline. And Ricardo, if you want, I can make introductions for both you on the platform, amazing. And hopefully we can get you featured on that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, because he has over 100,000 followers on Twitter. But that's the thing too. If you're into online broadcasting, share with the community, because the more you share, the more you're going to grow.
Start at $5 per month, and they go up to
$5
for the
a month. Yeah. If $5 is their basic plan, and then the next plan is $7 a month, which gives you stats that break down where people are listening to all over the world, how many downloads you're getting per episode,
Facebook direct listing basics,
that kind of stuff. And
network app,
podcasting
page,
yeah. So that's, if people want to get involved, that you can touch base with me. I have a working relationship with a number of these individuals, and if you want to get the exposure, that's all I'm about. That's just giving people the exposure, because I want more people
something
involved.
I've noticed with people who are in this podcasting space, or even the blab space, or everybody's always so welcoming. They're like, hey, you want to do it? You're like, come on in. Here's a mic. Do this. This one's $99. Best one on the market. We're all helping each other.
It's so funny you say that, Ricardo. It's like a mind shift, because I was very surprised at the podcast community. Yes, it's very let's exchange. You be a guest on my show. I'll be a guest on your show. We exchange our listenership. They'll discover you discover them, type of thing. And it's funny, because when we got on terrestrial air, it's not like that. And I remember the first time hosting, and we mentioned a few podcasts and things like that. And the program director's like, okay, you don't want to talk about other. Don't do that. But we're like, but we're all about collaborating and sharing. It's like, the body works in the podcast world, but this is terrestrial radio. It's very competitive, But I think if that's going to change. I believe that things, the more and more they're discovering that podcasters are grabbing more attention from their listeners, they're going to start to somehow compromise and do that as well.
It's the drift of society. We're moving to one that is open, one that is sharing, and everybody's realizing that you can't just sit here by yourself and expect to win. That's sort of an old model of thinking of, if I have all the marbles, I win. And it's like, no, dude, spread your marbles out. Everybody needs marbles, And it's another two big game changers over the last while when it comes to podcasting. More and more cars are being equipped with Wi-Fi, and also Google also now has an app, podcast directory. So that's another game changer too, because that opens it up. For so many years, iTunes had its basic marketplace. Now Google has something similar. So and if people want to know about podcasting, a great blab that happens every Saturday at 10:30. I have to remember the name of it, but it's run by a guy named Dave Jackson. It's every Saturday at 10:30 on Blab. They'll answer any of your questions. Dave Jackson is one of the top heads when it comes to podcasting. He's been doing his own podcasting show for years. Plus, he just got hired by Libsyn.
Nice.
So definitely, if you want to check out a show, and he will answer any of your questions in regards to podcasting, they're a great source. And if people off air want to get in touch with my audio guy, he's from North Carolina. I'll give you a story of how supportive a community can be. A few weeks ago, I was doing a show, and he came on the blab on the side, say, Dr. Vibe, I need to talk to you after the show. I go, uh-oh. Right? So he came on. So we did little thing offline. He says, how you doing? I go, fine. He says, I need to tell you something. I go, what? You're not talking to the front of the microphone. I said, he could just tell by the audio quality of the program that I was not speaking to the front of the microphone. And I said, what are you talking about? And he says, well, on this microphone that I use, there's a little circle.
Hold it up.
I don't know if you people can see it. That's you see that circle?
Yes. Yeah, just on the...
That's underneath it's right here. Yeah, that's the front of the microphone where I was supposed to be speaking. I was speaking to the back of the microphone.
Rookie 101 is good.
Right? But that's exactly. So you know what? Just be real. Everyone makes mistakes. But he said, yeah, I just want to make sure that, I'm always watching out for you. Bang. So that's what I'm saying, that if, be supportive and you'll get the support back. Be ratchet, you'll get ratchet
so
back.
True. It's funny, you mentioned you use Libsyn for hosting your podcast, Dr. Vibe. We actually switched. We're now using Spreaker.
Spreaker.
And
yeah, Spreaker. And I think the head of Spreaker now, when it comes to podcasting, used to be at Microsoft Zune. He went over, what's the guy's name? I can't remember his name, but Spreaker I would recommend also. Libsyn I've just had a really good working relationship and they've been very supportive, but Spreaker is good also. And people who want to take the free route, there still are one or two sites that host podcasts for free. I know there's a government site in the US that you can host all your podcasts. The only thing is you're not going to get any stats.
And is that audio?
You're going to get bare bones. Audio. I can't remember the name of it.
We'll put the links in the show notes at the end.
I'll be able to give the link for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The cool thing about Spreaker, it allows you as well that you can have you can go live on Spreaker, so you can have live audio. And if you use tools like ManyCam, so while in the background, your live audio on Spreaker, you can have ManyCam feed it to whether your Blab or YouTube or whichever live video stream that you're using. But also it has a component where you can host your own internet radio station, I guess. And that's an area that we've started to do on the Chonilla network, is we've taken our old shows, not all of them, because we're on Patreon as well. We give priority to our Patreons to listen to our old stuff. But some of them will have it on Spreaker internet radio or internet netcast, really. And then you could just add whatever, your music, make it sound like literally like a radio station, but online. And it's really cool.
I wanted to talk a bit about Patreon and how you're using that, because I came across that the other day, and I really wanted to start to explore that notion of like having people support the work that I'm doing, because there's lots of people out there like, I love it. I'm like, give me $2.
Yep.
It's like, give me $5 like a month, like help support this, because it's literally just money coming out of our pockets as we do these things. So you guys, the time. You guys are doing the shows, and from what you just said, I understand is, let's say you're doing 5 shows. The last 2 shows that you do will be live, and when you come out with the next show, one of those shows goes into the only available if you pay or if you support the show.
Like for us, we decided, we had so many back and forth, Clove and I, but eventually we've come down to, we have 10 of our latest show or 7 of our latest show. Actually, I think it's 7. 7 of our latest shows up on iTunes or all the different podcatchers, so Stitcher, things like that. One of the reasons why we're with Spreaker one of the things they do is if you're consistent with Spreaker and you post on a regular basis and you've proven that you do that, then you could be eligible to be also on iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
And iHeartRadio is huge.
Big.
But they're huge, right? But there's still time and a process in terms of getting the podcast portion to become as popular as their music portion for iHeartRadio. So that's the cool thing about Spreaker. But on that note, yeah, what we do is we have 7 of our latest episodes, and then the rest of it, because we have, I think we've made it about 550 episodes so far.
Wow.
And so the rest of it, we put it on Patreon. Now, we decided, Clove and I, that the 3rd year of our show and the way we used to record, and again, we were playing with algorithms with iTunes, we were noticing that when we'd record a podcast, we would do it for 2-3 hours live.
Ooh.
Yeah. So what we did it, and we would only do it once a week. We would just binge podcasts. So we started separating them in hour increments.
Nice. Smart.
Right?
Smart.
So that way we know we post it on a weekly basis, and people would be like, oh, I can't wait for next week for part 2 to come. Oh, I can't wait for next week for part 3 to come. And it was just a way to kind of play with the algorithms and the numbers with iTunes, so that way we can be ranking high up there, and they could see like there's a sense of consistency, but no, we're just really binge podcasting once a week.
Well, just recording everything at once, and then you're set for the month. If you do 4 hours, you're just like good.
For sure.
Some things I'm going to piggyback onto that. I remember a number of years ago I was at a get together of social media people, mostly women, in Toronto, and there was a lady who was a podcaster at the time, and she said, I sometimes, I don't know what to post. I have old episodes and I don't know what to do with them. I said, well, why don't you take a look at the stats at some of your older episodes and rebroadcast them? Because you're always getting new listeners. There's nothing wrong taking old content and bringing it new again. And she said,
freshening it up.
Genius idea. Another thing I'm going to put out there, something that I use, is an app called Mixler. And what Mixler allows you to do is basically live audio stream your podcast. You can embed it in your website, and people can listen to it either via desktop, laptop, tablet, or smartphone. You can do live broadcasting, so people can listen to it anywhere. And it's not as popular as it used to be, but that's another app out there. If people like to do live, a lot of DJs use it. A lot of DJs around the world use it. So it just allows you to live stream your audio in real time. So that's another thing that's out there. That's another resource that people may want to look into. I actually was a beta tester for the app.
Yeah. Just to go back on your question, Ricardo, with Patreon, there's different. I know a lot of podcasters that does different things with it. I know for us, the model we use, like I said, is having a few out there for free. Use the archive in order for people to pledge on Patreon, and then that way they can have access to it. And another thing another component we've added too is original content that only people who have been listening to us for a while and wants to hear like different types of shows. So we started creating like Patreon only shows. Like one of the shows I have was, for example, Gaining Health and My Journey Losing Weight. But it's very personal to me, so that I put it in a particular pledge area for Patreon, that only if people pledge in that certain amount, then they can have access to that particular show. So there's many ways that you can go about it when it comes to using Patreon. You could do the same now with, I think, videos, where I think some videos on YouTube that it's only by link, and you can choose those link. If you only have the link, then you have access to that Patreon through Patreon for that particular video that you've done related to your podcast.
Yeah, I'm getting to the Patreon thing too. We just lost Ricardo. We'll continue on. Ricardo's back. I put up a link also. I mentioned the gentleman's name, Dave Jackson. I put up his website, School of Podcasting. But he also, in that, you'll see that he does a blab every, like I said, every Saturday morning, I believe at 10:30. And like I said, it's open forum for podcasting questions by one of the best heads in the business when it comes to podcasting. He's very knowledgeable and very personable. Good guy.
Awesome.
And also he's also on Patreon too.
It's yeah, I'm really starting to love that space, and I like what you're saying, Shirley, about, because I was like, how do I do this? I'm like, I have all my content up there. I'm like, everybody can see it. I'm like, what's the point? Like, either gonna love it or not. But I like that notion of like the last 2 episodes are there, you can do it, and then if you want to start seeing the older episodes, $2.
It's surprising how many people do, if they really like you and they're, like I said, they're like-minded listeners like yourself. Yeah. And they're really into
the diehards. Those are the ones you want.
Yeah, the diehards. They will go back and go into your archives and start listening. Like for us, we've been we've had so many projects, so we haven't been able to do the podcast so much. But what saved us to keep going is things like Spreaker and providing us the internet radio station has been instrumental, because now people are we're gaining new listeners through that, and also because of that, then having the internet radio netcast just share some of our stuff, then they find out about our Patreon, and then they go into your archive and they're listening to so much more. And while Chonilla's a bit like on a hiatus, and we're trying to, because of everything that's been all these new live stream like Blab and things like that, we're trying to figure out, okay, what's going to work for us when we come back.
Right.
I've been able through the network co-host with a friend of mine a different show, but make it just by, instead of doing it throughout the year like Chonilla, we do it by season. We're like, okay, our season is 20 episodes, and you know what I mean? We pre-record them, and we have like 20 of them, and then the next 6 months, then we do the new seasons, just like a television show.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's beautiful.
Exactly. In audio form. So that's the great thing about podcasting, is it works with your lifestyle. We're a family of 3, so we can't do a podcast every day. We've tried.
It doesn't work to do that every day, this podcast anyways.
There are some great benefits with podcasting every day, though. It does help you rank way up there on a lot of things like iTunes and things like that, Stitcher and stuff like that. Right. But the cool thing about podcasting is really, okay, consider your lifestyle, consider how busy you are, and then you could choose. You don't have to do a podcast once a week. I know some podcasts where they do it 4 times a year, but they're consistent. That's the biggest thing.
Let people know when they can find you. And then it's like, I like to tell people, start slow, commit to once a month, and then you can go down to 3 times a month or twice a month, and then work your way up to week. But if you start by saying, we're going to be here like every week or every day, you better be there every week and every day, or the minute you miss that, people are going to be
they're going to forget about you.
But if you say every month and you produce more, people are happy. But if you say every week and you miss one, not good. Not good. So I try to do one once a week from starting, just to keep it flowing. I'm like, just get the next one. Always have one more going that you can, and just keep doing that. So I found that to be quite helpful. Mm-hmm. I know we're pushing an hour and a half, hour and 35 minutes. This is a good one. This is probably the longest one we've done. But I want us to officially wrap this up, but we can continue in the after show and continue to share and answer questions from people in the audience. So I would like to thank my co-host, the big man upstairs, Dr. Vibe, for joining us today on the Framing Podcast, and also from the Chonilla Show, and also for creating that wonderful space on Facebook where we can all meet each other and share and grow. So if you want to post the link to it's like you've done this before. It's just like bam, bam. I'm like, no. It's like, who am I talking to? Who am I talking to? Professionals. I'm like, oh, and it's done. Thank you so much. So where can people find you, Shirley, online? How can they connect?
You could find me on Twitter. Shirasaurus is the easiest. We also have Chonilla. Chonilla.com is another way to find me. But for the most part, I'd say Shearosaurus, the Chonilla Facebook group, and now I'm looking into getting more and more active with Black Canadian content creators. If you're Black, you're Canadian, and you have a if you're a blogger, podcaster, Instagrammer, Viner, YouTuber, vlogger, I could say it all.
If you're consistently putting stuff out, Dr. Shirley, it's
Yes, if you're a digital content creator, this group is really. I hope that it just grows and we can all learn from one another. It's a great space to share, or get inspired.
Awesome, thank you. Dr. Vibe, how can we reach you? Any new shows coming up? What's next for you?
Tomorrow night, I do my end of the month, last Thursday of each month for the last 3 years. We do something called Dr. Vibe's Allies, where we get Black men live from England, Canada, and the United States. They pick a subject and they go at it for an hour and a half. Been doing that for 3 years. Wow. So nice. That's been going on. And next Monday, we have the next episode from Black male hypermasculinity to Black male masculinity. And next Tuesday night, we're doing the regular men's show. I could go on. I'm going to stop right there. The next Tuesday night, we're doing a blab on men and emotional intelligence.
Nice.
So as you can tell, listener, Dr. Vibe ain't talking about light stuff. I've been given the brand. Dr. Vibe has the conversations people don't want to talk about online.
Sweet. Nice. And you can connect with me on Twitter. That's my new favorite platform. I will post a link to that in the show notes. And my next show coming up on July 13th, 2 weeks from now. I'm missing next week because we'll be in New York for a wedding. But the next show will be on how mentorship can lead you to failure. Yes. So I wrote a piece. On that, and there's a link to the show. If you want to be reminded about it, you can click on that. And it was a piece I wrote on LinkedIn and got a lot of traction. We also posted it on our website. But it really explores how to actually find a good mentor. Because not everybody who is older than you or has more experience should be somebody you should be following. So it's how do you actually find somebody that actually works for your life and the way you're doing things.
Nice.
So don't just get mentored by anybody.
No.
That is.
Oh, awesome.
Your timing is exceptional. I was just talking about this with a business coach, and we were both sharing our trials and tribulation of that. So I'm excited to
you're 19. You still live at home.
to check out this.
Dial it back on the life coaching here a little bit, but I mean, we're gonna have a good show. Thank you so much for being here. We're gonna officially stop the recording. This has been the Framing Podcast, and I'm sure we'll see you again on another episode of Framing. Take care, everyone.
Catch you on the flip side.